Just because Mad Cleaning has determined that they want to sell 10,000 bottles of all-purpose cleaner during the month of January 20XX doesn't mean that's the exact number they have to produce. Why is that? Well, companies usually begin each period with a certain level of inventory on hand when the period begins, and they want to have a certain level on hand when the next period ends. You don't want to make exactly the number of units you propose to sell, because what happens if there's more demand than you thought there was going to be? You don't have the units made to sell, so it gives you that buffer in case you go over. It also allows you to have a consistent flow of supply to your retailers that you are, selling your product to. It'd be really bad if somebody wanted to order extra and you didn't have it sitting around because you made the exact number. So the number of units produced often differs from the number of units that's going to actually be sold. So how do we account for this difference? Well, first we need to prepare a production budget. And for this example, Mad Cleaning needs to figure out how many bottles of all-purpose cleaner it must produce during the upcoming month. They want to have extra finished goods on inventory on hand at the end of the period for a buffer, and we have the following information to work with. Their bottles in beginning inventory at the beginning of this month is 1,000. So they're starting with 1,000 sellable units already made. They want to have ending inventory equal 10% of what they plan to sell during the next month, which would be February 20XX. And during that month, they are expecting to sell another 10,000 bottles. So for our production budget, the first thing we start with is the number of bottles we expect to sell. And our CVP analysis, one more time, told us that to meet our target level of operating income, we are going to need to sell 10,000 bottles of all-purpose cleaner. So let's bring that 10,000 over and start with our budgeted bottles to be sold of 10,000. And they also want to have bottles in ending inventory. How many? Well, they want to have 10% up here of what they propose they're going to sell 10,000 during the next period. So if we multiply 0.10, 10%, times that 10,000, we come up with 1,000. They want to have 1,000 ready to be sold finished bottles of all-purpose cleaner sitting in their inventory at period's end, which means that in total, between what they plan to sell and that buffer they want to have, they're going to have to come up with 11,000 bottles of inventory. But they don't have to produce all of those because they're starting the period with 1,000 bottles of all-purpose cleaner in inventory. So if they need 11,000 in total, but they already have 1,000 to start with, well, that means that they only need to produce 10,000. So while this number is exactly the same as their units to be sold, that's just by pure coincidence. It's not always going to be permanently the case.